Vance Bastion here with my co-host S.A. Baz Collins for this week's Written on the Edge Season 10 Episode 42 interview. We'll be talking with Vinny Cusenza and discussing his novel Blood and Soil. So let's get to know our guest. Vinny Cusenza writes across genres, but always from the heart. Whether his literary debut, Blood and Soil, or his personal essays and travel meditations, Vinny explores the nuances of identity, place, and the quiet power of human connection. A native New Yorker with a photographer's eye and a wanderer's soul, he has won awards for his photography, founded a boutique New England inn, and once sang with Liza Minnelli in Central Park. His work blends emotional honesty with lyrical precision and just a touch of mischief. Vinny lives in Brooklyn with husband Steve and the spirit of Nico, their dearly departed transsexual cat. And when he's not writing, he's editing. He's likely also photograph. Whoop. I'm going to redo that. Edit. When he's not writing or editing, he's likely photographing or the borough or planning his next travel dispatch. Vinny, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Vance. I'm so happy to be here.
I think we found our blooper.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, thank you for inviting me on the show. It's a real thrill. I'm still in the first blush of my debut novel, so it's a treat.
That's awesome. So there are two things in the bio that I think we probably have to ask. Baz, do you want to hop on the Liza Minnelli question?
Yeah. You saw my eyes flash from that? Okay, you need to tell me the deets on that.
Okay, yeah. Well, while there is no documentary evidence of me and Liza with our arms around each other, what happened was the coming together of the AIDS crisis and Liza's commitment to finding an anthem to inspire people about it. And she chose the day after that from The Kiss of the Spider Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Liza released a video of that, and she always intended to perform it with a chorus behind her, a neatly choreographed chorus with all kinds of arm motions that go with the inspirational parts, the chorus, and so on. And she really wanted to do it with a gay choir.
Mm-hmm.
It happened that at the time I was on the board of directors of the Stonewall Chorale, which I think still takes the title. Well, it's hard to uproot something in the past. The oldest mixed voice classical gay choir in America.
Nice.
Based in New York City. So, our peeps talk to their peeps, and this happy coincidence happened on the 25th anniversary of Stonewall in Central Park, where, of course, Liza had the stage. And I tell you, I will never feel the same rush of adrenaline as I felt when 50 or 100,000 of our tribe stood up and cheered in the wake of our performance. So yeah, you could call that a career high.
There you go.
That's beautiful.
There you go. Love that.
And so my question, in looking at your career, I mean, there's a lot there. Where did the passion to write come from?
Yeah, I think we don't, or at least I don't give credit to my New York City public school teachers for really putting the bug of, really, the unsung heroes. All those reading lists, all that great early literature. I have to say, after a lifetime of reading, I think A Wrinkle in Time is by Madeleine L'Engle is still my all-time favorite book. I've probably read that more times than anything else. But everything from The Prince and the Pauper or Treasure Island, set the stage for me. I will say that in fourth grade, it did inspire me and my best friend, Steve Drazen, to write a book.
I was hoping you'd tell this story.
Yes, well, a peculiar story, but what 10-year-olds come up with strange things. So there's the adventures of Bill, just an ordinary kid like us, and his pen and pencil, and all the adventures and scrapes that they get into. So we put it together. I think I did all the illustrations. I can't remember at this point, but just for the record, here's the water-stained first edition
Awesome. That is fantastic.
with the pen and the pencil holding, the book itself, of course. And we had the naivete and I don't know, the chutzpah to actually put it in an envelope and send it to a major publisher, which one now is lost to memory and time. But this may put us down as the youngest writers ever to receive a rejection letter from a big 5 publishing house.
Well, and if I remember the story that I read correctly, that then sparked a sequel.
It did. It did. Yes, counterintuitively it did. So, yes, I won't bore you. Well, actually, it's because this was the late 60s, so, it became a psychedelic cover.
Well, there
That's
you go.
awesome.
Yeah, with pen and pencil becoming these, like pop icons. Icons in our minds.
Legends in their own minds, right?
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's fast forward then. You went through this great career, and all of a sudden, this story for Blood and Soil is in your mind.
Yeah. Well, like most good stories, the real life story of Vinny finding his best story unfolded in fits and starts. So this was a 10-year writing process. When I began, the great leader had yet to descend the golden escalator. And my idea was to work with some of the societal issues that this country has been grappling with over the last decade, having to do with the sexual exploitation of women and the Black Lives Matter movement. And this had really motivated a lot of soul searching and a lot of reading on my part. Because, I may be a gay guy, but, we all have multiple identities. And I was a white kid in a lily white neighborhood of New York City growing up. I had no friends who were people of color. I was not exposed to any kind of a diverse environment until I got to college. So being being a progressive with a conscience, I felt that I had to get my own house in order and did a lot of introspection. Um, you know, read Coates, read um, Isabella Wilkerson, and just paid close attention to what was going on and all the upheaval uh, in the years leading up to, and also specifically during 2020 with the George Floyd protests. And I realized that there was a lot there in me that I felt compelled to examine on the page. So I specifically wanted to see how the point of view that I've been raised with. So, the family stories, the family mythology, the cultural influences, the reinforcement I got from authority figures growing up, family, teachers, pop culture, how that had shaped me and blindsided me to my own biases. And I chose to play that out through a pair of characters, romantically involved, in a landscape that I knew well because I had spent my childhood summers in a certain corner of Appalachia, which is similar to, although distinct from, the fictional world that I create in Blood and Soil. And I made the two romantic leads, Tony, who is a city kid. He goes to the Ivy League. He comes from a family of bootstrapping immigrants. They're Italians. They arrive in this country at a time where it being Italian was considered being of another race. on the bottom rung of the American ladder, and um, specifically in Tony's generation in the 1950s, the character Tony, um, that th the way to get ahead in America was to become a member of the club, the straight, white, Protestant, uh, male-dominated world. And so all the pressures to conform, to erase your immigrant identity. And I saw that play out in the way my parents pursued um, work and career, becoming more American than the so-called Americans in order to obtain an American dream and give their children, my generation, which was the second American-born generation, a um, um, a sense that they were opening their eyes in a world where they could be seen as equals. And of course, that proved not to be entirely the case. And this is a process of assimilation that happens over generations, like it does with every immigrant group.
Hmm.
Um, so I had the idea that there should be, at the core of the story of Blood and Soil, a romance based on raw physical attraction between two individuals that had very little in common, except their own stories, their own myths, their own, inbred biases, and from their lived experiences. Um, the On the other side of the relationship would be a man from the mountains, in a group of Americans. Sociologists call them social isolates. They were basically a multiracial Indian tribe that lived off the grid, very close to New York City, but in a world removed, where there was a tense, uneasy, um, mm, um, live and let live atmosphere between um, the local folks, which I would call poor working class whites, and these mountain people who were, because they were clearly not white then in 1950s America, they were black because they did have that as part of their multiracial identity. And you throw in a story that includes murder
I was
and
gonna say,
suspense
it's not
and
just a romance.
ambition and a demagogue who has the power to compel loyalty and to inspire the basest instincts in the local community in the form of a county sheriff with a hidden past that he uses as a cudgel to compel um, allegiance from the local community. And that cudgel is that the area, as it does in real life, um, contained a Nazi past, an American Nazi past, which is very real, which has
Hmm.
been coming to light in some major publications and documentaries only in the last 10 years, as I see it. At
Hmm.
the time that I was doing my research for this book, it was all of this was a revelation to me. I mean, Arnie Bernstein came up with a book, an excellent book on the subject called Swastika Nation, which helped fill in a lot of information for me. But I think the real kicker for me in driving that element of the plot, the fact that we had homegrown American fascism here
Hmm.
as recently as the 1930s and 40s, excuse me. And so in living memory of people even today,
Hmm.
um, was poking around in some of the smaller newspapers and journals online, discovered that within a half an hour of the summer bungalow that my parents and I and my brother summered in for decades in my childhood, within 30 minutes of our house, there was an abandoned Nazi youth camp. And that sparked additional research, which uncovered the fact that, yeah, the whole New York City metropolitan area was ringed with these indoctrination camps. And
Hmm.
in fact, the national headquarters of the American Nazi movement, known as the German American Bund,
Hmm.
was in Manhattan, the largest,
There was also
if
another
you want.
group in Pennsylvania, if I remember, that was equally as large and just as influential.
Uh-huh. Okay. Um, I don't know how those two groups coordinated, but the national organization certainly sent out its tentacles all the way to the
Hmm.
West Coast,
Hmm.
and there was a large contingent in the Upper Midwest, as well as on the West Coast. But th this part where I'm sitting in Brooklyn, New York, this part of the country was crisscrossed with this movement, these organizations, and it culminated, of course, in the now, I don't know, almost um, famous
Infamous,
Madison
really.
Square Garden,
Yeah, MSG. Yep. Yep.
the MSG rally in 1939 on George Washington's birthday,
Hmm.
which was a circus and a spectacle. Um,
That was one of
so,
the most perverse things I had ever discovered. And I discovered it actually quite early on. I mean, it was before the documentary started. I tripped upon it and I just found that whole era to be like, what the fuck? I mean, literally, it was one of those kind of like, how do you think you never think it could happen here, but it has been here, you
well,
know?
yes, that's right. As my God, I'm not going to get the name of the author. I just blanked out, but it can't happen here, um, which we remember from the 30s, and then Philip Roth's book, The Plot Against America, which was recently turned into a miniseries, excellent miniseries. Um, but um, but yes, the discovery, and it has, it continues to ripple down through the decades.
Oh yeah.
Um, what they found, this camp 30 minutes from home, from my home, my parents' home, um, yielded a bonanza of documentation which had been buried on the site by the local chapter of the Bund and is in the possession, as I understand it, of the New Jersey Historical Society. And you can't just walk in and say, "Can I see this?" No, you have to have credentials. You have to be a credible scholar or have some other, you know, legitimate in their eyes purpose for seeing this because, and this is my supposition, because the descendants of these people, and some of, perhaps in some cases, the people themselves are still living in
Mm,
the area, and it's too explosive an issue.
right.
Of course, the vast majority of German Americans in um, America did not subscribe to this philosophy. I think at its peak, the membership may have been 500,000, maybe less. Uh, you know, but it certainly wielded influence for a brief period from the mid to late 30s until maybe 6 months after Pearl Harbor, when everything was demolished
Mm,
by the American government. So you have this, this legacy. Um, occasionally pops up in the news like a residential community near what was probably the largest um, Nazi summer camp in the New York area in Yaphank, Long Island, Suffolk County, which was Camp Siegfried, with streets named after the leadership of the Nazi Party. There was a nearby residential community constructed for fans of the Bund, which had covenants against selling houses to non-Aryans. And that came up in the news not that long ago. I would say
mm,
within the last 6 to 8 months.
yep.
Something about that community and still controversy about these covenants which have no force of law, but which is somehow it's still still carries on in um, people's lives.
Right. So your novel has three pillars. It's got the romance, it's got the thriller slash mystery slash murder aspect, and it's got a history aspect.
Hmm.
That's huge. Did you have one of those three that was the most interesting for you to write? I mean, obviously the history is the most interesting to research, but in terms of writing, was one more interesting?
I think I definitely put the most energy into the romance. And as I suggested earlier, I think for me, I was working out on the page some of the dark corners of my own belief system, and I
Mhm.
wanted my my Tony, the city Italian guy in the romance, to have this play out in his relationship with Jake, who is the mountain man,
Mhm.
um, and to find those uh, rough edges where things stop making sense once the light is shown on them by a skeptical, you know, interlocutor like Jake, who comes from a, show me that you aren't my enemy, a kind of a reflexive mistrust of the white world off of his mountain.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, so a lot of digging into what was the Tony, of course, being Italian, what is the history that this character is carrying inside of him, across generations? What are the set of beliefs? What's the family story that is being challenged by this stranger that he's fallen for, who puts no store by all of these triumphal immigrant tales, because in some ways he's just another white guy who's privileged and doesn't really understand who Jake is.
Mhm.
So
And then in the thriller aspect, they're up against Sheriff Schmidt. Dun, dun, dun.
yeah, so he's the one who raises the temperature always.
Mhm.
He is he's a bully, he's a demagogue. He but he's also very human, in as far as he is the vessel into which I pour some of the history of um, anti-German hatred and discrimination in this country,
Hmm.
which is not often something that we spotlight.
Right.
But from the outbreak of World War One until the end of World War Two, I would say that life for German Americans was no picnic, and many had, uh, you know, in some ways had to go into hiding. At least their German identity they had to erase if they could.
Several of them anglicized their German names.
Mhm.
That's correct. And even the names of streets and towns. There were mobs who tarred and feathered German Americans. Um, and, there was a lot of vitriol, and so it played out in neighborhoods, it played out nationally. Our government branded them as Germans as snakes and Huns, all of these things to dehumanize them. And it was important for me to be able to show that victimhood is something that can happen to any group, and victims can become victimizers as well.
Hmm.
There's at some point in
Bullies
the
are born
story,
from being bullied.
uh, that's a good point to to
Full
to keep
stop.
in mind.
Yeah.
That's right. And you bear these grudges, and you learn take away sometimes the wrong lessons that it's either, eat or be eaten in that dog eat dog world. Um, yeah, and the interesting part of the process for me was that as I continued to write and shape the story, current events came to really dominate my thinking. And from 2016 right up until now, um, while I was writing about American fascism in the 30s and the 40s, I was watching it reemerge in real time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I did find that influenced my writing, how I shaped this antagonist, the county sheriff, Otto Schmidt. Um, and, sadly, very disconcertingly, fiction began to reflect real life. So that to me was also a driver in shaping the thriller aspect. Um, I would say that I have to give a nod to one writer in particular who's, I don't know, I think he gets his due because his stuff is so pop and it's not literary, but Ken Follett writes some really great thrillers.
Mm.
And his The Eye of the Needle, um, which you may know, it's been turned into a movie. It's about a Nazi spy during World War II in Scotland. The ruthlessness with which he pursues his objectives for the fatherland was something that inspired a certain scene and a certain sensibility in developing my antagonist, Sheriff Otto Schmidt.
Nice.
So I want to give a shout out to him.
Very nice. So, without spoiling the ending, because we want people to read it, is there anything about Blood and Soil that we didn't think to ask, but that you would like readers to know?
Well, I would say I feel very strongly that um, we all have the basest and the noblest of impulses in us as human beings. And I think when we lose sight of that and say, we wear white hats and those people over there wear black hats, and that is and always will be as it
Or red
is,
hats, as the case may be.
or red hats or blue hats, right? That um, this is where we lose, um, we start to lose our humanity. And I think we need to approach our own faults and failings with humility, um, and examine what's behind our self-righteousness when we want to attack others. Um, because I think, the point is that just as with my characters in the story, we're sometimes heroes and we're sometimes guilty of really terrible things.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes in the same human being at different times in their lives. Um, and we just need to approach one another with open minds and to be um, aware of our imperfections, widen the lens, and really take in all the different identities that we all contain in ourselves.
Beautiful. Are you ready for our get to know you questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, before we get to that, just wanted to say here, if you like what we're doing here, please like, comment, subscribe, do all of the things that help us out with the algorithm. We greatly appreciate it. If you want to help support us financially, you can go to Rope Podcast, or you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Rope Podcast, patreon.com/Rope Podcast, or we have a brand new way to do it, which is only 99 cents a month. It's just one level, and for less than $1 a month, you can throw some change our way to help us support what we're doing here. We are now in our 10th year of doing this as a weekly interview series. So, everything that you can help us out with, we humbly and thankfully um, appreciate what you can. We know times are tough. That's why we did this 99-cent level membership here on YouTube. And for that, you get our full reactions that I do with Albert on Queer Media, where we're watching something and we're reacting to it in real time. They are watch along versions, so we give you the first minute of what we're watching so you can sync up your own personal copy of it, and then you get to watch it along with us as we comment while we're watching it. So that's available as well. So we will have some merchandise coming. I promise I'm finishing up all those things to get our merchandise rolling, but we will have really fun t shirts coming up for people. So, all of that said, let's get into the weeds. And can you name a movie that was better than the book?
Well, I love uh, Kenneth Branagh's Much Ado About Nothing, that
Yeah, okay.
movie.
Okay.
Um, I always prefer, and this is deviating somewhat. This is of course a Shakespeare play, but uh, I always prefer to see Shakespeare come to life before me than to read it on the page. So that's one thing. I mean, another movie that affected me at an impressionable age was Dr. Zhivago, which is still something that touches my heartstrings. So that would be another example for me.
Okay. All right. Well, which fictional character would you most like to be friends with?
So this was tough. Um, I was only able to get it down to three. So one would be Mrs. Madrigal. She always comes up
Oh,
for
yeah.
me from
Yes.
Armistead Maupin's Tales of the
Mm-hmm.
City and all of its successors. So she's just fascinating in her ability to contain multiple worlds of tolerance and openness. So that would be one. I have to say, probably Meg Ryan, not Meg Ryan, excuse me, Meg Murray from A Wrinkle in Time, my most read book, because of how she represented the outsider for me, and how she, at a time in my life where I really needed some someone to give me heart for a better life, better future. Uh, and if I had to throw in a third one, I'd say Bagoas, who is not a household name, but was the narrator of Mary Renault's The Persian Boy, who was Alexander the Great's lover. So,
Okay. Excellent. Well, what's the most fascinating fact that you know, considering you studied a lot of history for your book?
well, actually, what came to mind has nothing to do with my
Oh,
book,
okay.
but
Okay.
it's the theory of the law of entropy.
Hmm.
I got so stuck on that the first time I heard it in high school that it's just been the organizing principle of the universe is that things fall apart, that the universe tends towards disorder and chaos. And it had never occurred to me. And it explains many things, like
Hmm.
what happens in my garden if I don't go out and pay attention to it for 2 weeks, or
Yep. Yep. Yep.
or,
Absolutely.
or
Absolutely.
what happens to a democracy if you don't
Yes.
feed and water it.
Hmm.
They have a republic if they can keep it. All
Yeah.
right. Well, what was your favorite subject in school?
It's a funny thing. I was one of those brainy kids who excelled in everything, with the possible exception of typing. Um, but I'd have to answer acting.
Okay. All right. I'm with you
Hmm.
on that one.
Hmm.
Okay. Before making a telephone call, do you rehearse what you're going to say?
Oh God, yeah, I have to have an outline in my head. Um, yes, it's performance anxiety,
Okay.
which of course happened to me on a stage as well when I was acting.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There you go. All right. Well, what current event or causes are you most passionate about?
Well, the one that's consuming me right now is defending democracy. And you know, I'll be out there yelling with the best of them on Saturday at the No Kings rally. But this is, I feel, especially with all of the history and research that's fresh in my mind from writing Blood and Soil, I feel like um, we're at a crossroads where we may be watching the death of the Weimar Republic replayed in our
Mm-hmm.
own time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so,
I,
so
I will
yes,
I will say that this will be released after No King's Day, but Trump has had here in my city of San Diego, they're going to do Marine exercises into Camp Pendleton, firing missiles into that part of San Diego while we're holding the march. And it's
yes,
because San Diego had one of the largest turnouts the last time around, and so he wants to make an example out of us.
yes, of course. It's no coincidence. It's
Yeah,
no accident.
right, right, exactly. All right. Well, if you could visit anywhere in the world, where would that be?
Oh God, my first thought was all of it. Um, I am trying to make up for lost time in my travels, and yeah, I'd say the next big adventure for me is cracking the African continent, which I have not visited yet. So I'm hoping to get to Morocco this coming year,
Oh, cool.
and maybe bookend that in the not too distant future with a visit to South Africa. So.
Okay. All right. Well, who, if anyone, was your first celebrity crush?
Um, okay, so as a child of late 60s popular culture, I'd have to say Michael Landon, but not the one that we think of in Little House on the Prairie. I think of
Before
him as Little Joe
Little
in
Joe, yeah.
Bonanza.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So that's one. And another would be uh, a a Doom TV series about a young man and his elephant. It was called Maya. I think it ran for 2 seasons, and it had a heartthrob young Indian actor named Sajid Khan. So I can pick these out based on whose picture I had scotch taped to my bedroom wall. So
There you
that's how I
go. There
picked
you go. Yeah, right. I had Linda Carter Wonder Woman posters all over my bedroom. My dad was so confused.
them.
If you
Aren't we?
know, you know.
Oh, childhood can be so
Yeah.
crazy with these
All
things.
right. So, final question. What was your personal favorite recipe that you make? And are you willing to share it with us?
Well, I can't say I invented either of these two things, but the things that came to mind were fried zucchini blossoms
Mm.
because my life changed forever when I first ate them in probably Rome. So yes, fried and stuffed with two kinds of cheese and
Mm-hmm.
anchovy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. And the other favorite thing I like to cook is a recipe called coquille Saint-Jacques, which sounds very snooty because it's in French, but it's basically sautéed scallops in Pernod or some kind of anise flavored liqueur and cream.
Okay. Love it. Love it. Well, you made it through our list. Bravo.
Hmm.
Thank you.
So you had hinted that you were at the early stages of touring the world with your first book. Do you want to hold up that cover again and shout out to the cover artist?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I'd say this woman. that I worked with, Minnie Cho, and her outfit is called Fuseloft. She's done wonderful work for another writer friend of mine, which is how I first learned about her. She's a dream to work with, and she does something up so above and beyond the Call of Duty. I was astonished, which is she insists on reading your book from cover to cover before starting a cover design.
Oh, wow.
So that's commitments.
Yeah,
So
that is.
thank you, Minnie.
Beautiful.
Love it.
Do you have any scheduled upcoming dates or like festival visits or anything you want to put in people's ears?
Yes, I do. I do have a reading. It's a uh, it's an event with I think we're now up to either four other or five other authors in the East Village in Manhattan. It's a series called uh, First Floor Walk Up. I keep stumbling over that because the event is in a downstairs walk down. So uh, a writer friend was reading, and I discovered this place, and I said, I'd like to read in this space. So, it's a series. It's a rather low key series. There isn't an Instagram address under First Floor Walk Up Presents,
Okay.
and it's run by a great guy named Mr. Crawl. It is housed in a bar called One and One at First and First in the East Village, so relatively easy to remember. What's a little distracting is it's a dedicated, separate, cozy space downstairs in what is otherwise a kind of a East Village dive bar.
Love it.
And that's on November 3rd at 7 o'clock. So that's a Monday coming up in the near future.
Perfect. Do you have a website where people can connect to your social media links and follow you for more updates?
Sure. Thanks for asking. It's vinnycusenza.com. So pretty straightforward. Vinny with a Y, Cusenza. Thank you.
Love it. All right, Vinny, any final words of wisdom?
Ah, don't let anybody, don't let anybody tell you you can't write. We all have a story to tell. And the best thing to do is ignore the critic in your head and just let your passion flow onto the page because only you can tell your story.
And as a writer's platform, we applaud that.
It took me a long time to learn that. So, it's coming from the hard knocks of being a writer.
Yep.
There you go.
But there has not been a time in my life where our voices have been more important. So, wisdom well earned and shared. All right, folks, we'd like to extend a huge thank you to Vinny Cusenza for joining us. Vinny, thank you again so much, and thank you for your flexibility today.
It's a pleasure. A
For
real
us,
pleasure to have this dialogue. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
it
And
has been for us as well.
And
I
if you're
love you.
listening to this and you're not looking at the YouTube video, please go watch the YouTube video because in the beginning, all the children will laugh at me as I tried to figure out how to do the heart shape thing. I struggled with like, wait a minute, how does this go on the screen?
Yeah, I'm not real good at that either. Oh.
All right, folks, we at Written on the Edge are proud to introduce you to new media by queer content creators. So if you enjoy learning about new artists or hearing our thoughts on entertainment media, please like and subscribe so you get the alerts for new episodes. Our show was produced by Rogue Ravens Media. For our disclaimers, links to social media, our listening stations, or to sign up as a guest, visit www.rotepodcast.com. Tune in next week for your queer media fix.
Bye now.
No.
I literally struggled so hard, and I was so glad nobody commented on it. I was like, I know, but I was doing it like this, and I'm like, oh wait, that's not on there. I'm all okay. Do I turn it down? It's such a mess.
Since we are officially cut and not in the interview anymore.
Oh, what's that? Closing time. bum's rush and melody, dear.